So yeah, this is maybe a bit of a rough spot here for MVP, kind of picking themselves into a corner by going for the Nautilus.
But why? That is the question, is why. Now, if you're willing to go Nautilus support and just stand in front of skill shots just like Sion can, maybe it works out. That is a Sion. Okay.
They lock that in. This is really interesting drafts today, Papa Smithy. We started off, we got our Ziggs bot lane, we got Katarina for Faker. Now we have the return of Sion in the top lane.
And look, Sion is one of those extra tanks, and Sion has actually taken Maokai and Poppy banned. They reached for the Nautilus, so you might think, okay, that's the reason why, you know, just given the fact that you could start banning these other tanks in the next rotation, but they take the Sion willingly, and that has really put us in an interesting stead. Sion is someone who in the late game can stand up. He's not worried about getting picked because he can just ult away and get away just freely. So this is really, really intriguing stuff.
Oh boy, might have some action already. ADD walking in, he's gonna get slowed up. Orb comes down, he's gonna flash away. Looks like he will make it out alive. Gonna get a big hit with that charge up, but he will make it out. But flashless Sion is gonna make him a very vulnerable target for Bless on that Elise early on.
Nice play from Ian. Stop some backs here to stop the timings here. The recalls are actually gonna delay them getting to bot lane at the right timing. Could lead to an extended leash from MVP, or potentially guaranteeing that the minions are procced up and you get that level 2 early. Is
oh wow,
the BBQ logo in full flight, and there's the squad as well.
I'm just wondering if these are people that work for the Order, or if this is just some really dedicated fans that brought that big banner through. Either way, good to see.
Well, we do know that BBQ is in full force, handing out free fried chicken to everyone. If you had Korean fried chicken, you know that you're definitely missing out.
It is just, that's like somebody handing you like a block of gold.
And just to be clear, the pronunciation is BBQ,
BBQ
Olivers. I know you said barbecue, which of course you see the logo and it's the first thing you think of, but they are known as the BBQ Olivers. They are the Olivers because the special recipe involves olive oil extensively.
Yeah, which
so
is
that's
a little uncommon.
This is an early invade.
Yeah, Bless really going for that blue buff. See Beyond, he popped himself over with that blast cone, didn't waste any time getting on top of the Elise and forced a flash out. So 2 flashes being blown, one on either side, fairly early on.
And those blast cones have actually been really important. We saw a similar invade with Maokai and Kha'Zix yesterday, really clutched Longzhu. So if the blast cone spawns there, you get that invader's advantage of, you know, you just leisurely killing a blue buff, and then the enemy jungler comes out of nowhere, and you have a half second to evaluate what skills do they have, what level are they, do they have backup, and the invader's advantage means you always get that smite, or you force the enemy jungler to just run away.
Yeah, I mean, and we also saw Faker using that to get the kill on Umte, so there's a lot of uses for the blast cone. Honestly, one of my favorite plants that's been added.
What's your plant tier list, Achilles? You said one of your favorites.
Definitely my favorite. Definitely my favorite.
What's second? What's the worst plant?
The worst one is, what is it called? The honey fruit one?
The honey fruit one,
Honey fruit, yeah. I don't know. Honey fruit, I'm not that big of a fan of. Oh, crazy. It's going to get popped up.
Sion does
really low.
A lot of base damage. He's kind of my favorite tank. You know, we've lived in the world where Poppy deletes AD carries. That's not ideal. But early game, Sion does, I'd say, more damage than Poppy. Huge burst when you're maxing the Q first. Don't quite have the lane harass of the old Emax, but still do a lot of damage. And tanks that do a lot of damage early then fall away late. It's kind of how I expected the meta to be.
Well, Beyond says hello as that ward comes down. Crazy. He'll get a couple 20 free gold from the rest of those Krugs. Comes back into lane, has a cull on the Jace. So really going to be delaying some of that heavy damage spikes that Jace can get.
Obviously not too worried about the harass after that first trade. You might have thought he would reevaluate, but gold value thing probably coming through in terms of picking up the cull, and will hit his timings just fine. So despite being forced to recall early, no big worries for Crazy.
Yep. Ian had spotted out Bless with his ward on the lower side of the river, so played up quite nicely. So Bless decides to go ahead and back off, and he'll be roaming down to the bottom lane. He's going to be on Totoro to see if he can set up with a big hook. He's going to start pushing forward. Does land it onto Max. Can they follow up the Cocoon? Thrown out to Mata, or Baha rather, doesn't connect. Max going low. They'll take that dark passage away. BBQ, they lose a couple summoners for that one. They get the exhaust out of Max, but they lose a heal and a flash.
They had to use the flash because, of course, when Rengar is coming in, suddenly The brushes are going to lead to so many gap closes, and you have to go for the emergency flash early and not have to worry about just not being able to get out. Flash is not valuable the moment the Rengar's already closed the distance.
Oh, smites the minion to get the cocoon onto Max. Now gets the flash out from him. A little bit of a style play there from Bless. Looked pretty cheeky, but getting that summoner spell is going to be quite nice for him. Just maybe we'll be able to find a time to revisit this bottom lane.
A lot of action around bot, as you say.
Heavy skirmishing, and I mean, we have an Infernal Drake as our first one on the Rift, so have to expect that that's going to be highly contested as we approach the 10 to 12 minute mark.
Small subtle roster change that we didn't mention that was relevant if you actually caught the promotion relegation matches right at the end of last year, is that Ares is no longer on the roster. He was ESC Ever's jungler when they went international, when they won IEM Cologne in 2015, but he's now gone full-time as a coach. He played in that promotion tournament, but finally retired. So Bless, who looked good at the start of last season, just like ESC Ever, and then fell away, is back in the roster. The word is that his mechanics certainly are better than Ares's, but he didn't bring the shot calling in the late game, and his decision-making let the team down a couple of times.
It led to a lot of inconsistency.
He's had his time. He's had an off-season. He's had his time to work with Ares, now a coach, so hopefully he's picked up some of those intangibles to go along with some really solid mechanics on his side.
Well, I mean, getting that smite cocoon off was pretty good looking.
But the time investment's pretty sheer. I mean, he's actually being doubled or thereabouts by Rengar, so spent a lot of time in bot lane and wasn't successful in actually picking up a kill.
Have to try to make up for that. So he's working his way back. He's not having too terrible of clear time, so she'll be able to work her way through the jungle, but definitely wants to get a kill on the board. That first blood still up for grabs, as opposed to how we saw things in the first series, where we had really early first kills. ADD now poking around in this mid lane, maybe looking for a charge, but if he doesn't connect onto Tempt, he might end up underneath that turret. Needs to be able to cancel it in time.
I didn't actually see
minimize the damage that he takes.
Shockwave be used. Seems like it was used at some point. We missed that. The drive-by from ADD, where he used the unstoppable onslaught mid-flight, you put the ball on top and then ult, is quite a fearsome wombo that might catch Syndra unawares, but maybe it was just a communication thing, but some form of hula hoop happened and no ult was to be found.
Not exactly sure how that one went down. Max goes in with the dredge line, though, connects onto Totoro. Here comes Beyond, and that's going to be a very swift first blood picked up by Maha. Gets him with that final crit shot. Takes out the Thresh and puts one on the board for MVP. But because of that CSing in the mid and top lane that BBQ has been able to pull off, the gold lead won't really be there for MVP at the moment.
There's no counterplay to Rengar with the ability to have that CC removal and also immunity. If there's enough damage in the lane, he's going to jump in. Sure, you have the warning, but that's not going to be the crucial factor. And he's going to get the root. He's going to be able to get out if anything turns around. It's almost like his invisibility and engage now doesn't have a cost, because before you got the burst, you got the kill, you died because you'd already gone in. But the fact that you can actually use that W roar and now guarantee a way out makes it less risky and thus inherently stronger from the side of the Rengar.
Yeah, I mean, MVP, they have so much CC that they can chain together. We saw it right there. Bit the dredge line straight into the deadly flourish. You have the bullet shot from Beyond.
I mean, you had me at Nautilus. Nautilus is famous for his 4 CCs, so even pre-level 6 when he gets all 4, he's doing all right.
Yeah, and I mean, in an AoE fight, also lines up for ADD just to be able to get a massive slam and knock everybody up on the side of BBQ.
Yeah, I just don't see, there's just not much answer on the side of BBQ. You just run bot lane and someone's dying.
Yep. Ian, though, needs to try to bounce back from this mid lane pressure that Tem's been laying down. 83 to 55 CS, definitely on struggle street at the moment. You can see, got the lost chapter and then had to go straight for a Negatron cloak.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the itemization you have to take against the Syndra. I know there's going to be some readjustments to things like Chalice, but Chalice is so far out of the meta compared to Lost Chapter now that, you just have to itemize into Abyssal. It's not ideal. You can definitely outrange the Abyssal 600 range marker if you are the Orianus, given the way the ball tether works, but this is the itemization that most mid laners have to take against Syndra. You don't have that breathing room otherwise.
Yeah. Well, Jonas is going to be on Beyond. try and turn this lane around. So far, it's just been farming up quite successfully. Still has a slight little stretch over Bless, plus that assist.
I mean, what you can say, though, is in the late game, the ball carriers are just all over the place. Both Rengar and Sion have ways to guarantee they are in position to land that big shockwave, and Nautilus does a pretty good backup job as well. So
yeah, I mean, you can just flash in with a Riptide, slow everybody up, and then just pull them in with a shockwave. So MVP, they definitely have that wombo potential. It's just going to come down to the cohesion, the communication, as to whether or not they can pull it off. But see right now, throw down that control ward. Going to be looking for this Infernal Drake. Temp is roaming down, has that blue buff. Totoro
risky
coming in as well. This is going to look pretty bad. Crystalline Arrow not going to connect on anybody. And now Maha opening up with the curtain call, firing off, gets a little bit of damage in on the multiple members of BBQ. Meanwhile, it looks like the TP stopped in the top lane. ADD is not able to come in to help the team, and that's going to be Beyond going down, followed by Ian. 2 kills picked up for BBQ, and they're going to transition that into the Infernal Drake.
Just really greedy stuff from MVP. You can understand the lure of picking up an early Infernal Drake, but given how straightforward the comp is, if Orianna has to be respected, if she can farm and get ability power, why go for these early objectives when it feels like the mid to late game is pretty insured? Ensure that Orianna gets farm should be the real true objective for MVP.
Dredgeline is on the max. They're going to try to deny that Dark Passage, but they can't do so. Ghost will be able to make it out with his life. Also picked up a blue buff for his troubles. Take another look at this scuffle around the Infernal Drake.
So the reason why this doesn't work is that the inside track is always going to be on the side of Orianna. And as you saw, ADD had the teleport cancel. But the big story here is that Syndra has lane pressure on the Orianna. Therefore, Syndra will get to Drake first. And thus, that makes it that much less likely that you win a fight. Free damage from the Infernal Drake, which does extra damage onto the people taking it. They're always going to be lower health. So it just was a risk that was unnecessary to take on the side of MVP.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see Ian going to be hurting as far as his damage goes because had to optimize into that Negatron Cloak. Now coming back in with an Amp Tome on top of the Lost Chapters. He tries to get towards that Morellonomicon, but the Shockwave went out onto Ghost, caught him completely, and didn't even do about, did about 10% HP of an Ashe, which is not the position you want to be in if you're an Orianna, albeit still very early on in the game. It's 2-1. Gold lead is only 800 for BBQ. So MVP definitely have time to bounce back from this. But CS is going to be a very major thing that Ian has to catch up on now that he's died as well.
It's just definitely one of those moments as a coach where you open it up on the VOD and you're like, okay, guys, what was your win condition? Where were you going? And then it will be very obviously, why did you make this decision? Because the decision to take Drake was so greedy in the context of Ian is building to survive lane and get to the late game. So those two are competing opposite goals. And if you try to double down on one, the other one is likely to cause an issue. The moment that there was going to be a contest, they had to get out, they had to back away, and they just lose the maximum from a situation that they started and opened up themselves.
Yeah. Creating their own problems. We'll see how they bounce back from that, where they're going to move next. Beyond hasn't really been able to do much since that gank into the bottom lane. See where he wants to visit next. Surprised that we haven't seen a gank up into that top lane against Crazy. So ward in the brush here for MVP, so that they do spot out Bless. Beyond's waiting in the wings in case they want to commit to this. And the roam down from Tempt. We just make this a 4v3. Max gonna get caught straight into the death sentence. The wall comes down. He is hurting. Big shield comes through onto him, but he's still gonna fall. Totoro finds the kill. A follow-up on the Beyond as Tempt takes that one away. Looks like Totoro will go down in the end as ADD has teleported into the fray. Straight back, MVP making this a 2v2 for so far. Tempt has the flash out. Can he get any damage back in onto ADD? Doesn't really look that likely as far as a kill is concerned, so they'll trade evenly. TP down on the side of MVP. Crazy tried to roam down, but just couldn't get close enough in time.
So the reason why MVP took that, even though they knew Syndra would be there first, is that Sion had teleport, and Crazy's came up just now. Wasn't available for the skirmish, but the CC wasn't going to be the main factor there. It was the fact that Syndra was being CC and damage meant that 2 for 2 is a pretty decent situation, but now even though it's only a Jace teleporting, there still is an extra teleport to worry about for 5 minutes, and that extra summoner spell investment only took them to even, not ahead.
Yeah. Well, a bit of a rough trade here for MVP. Gold lead hasn't grown too much for BBQ thus far. turrets haven't really come into play, but of course there's that ever-present Infernal Drake that's just going to be stacking up.
This is smart.
Way too far forward. That's going to be the death sentence for it. He's going to flash, but the flake comes through, and he goes down beyond, not able to arrive in time. But even if he was there, not sure if he would have been able to do enough to keep his AD carry alive. Nice pick off by BBQ. Really well played.
Yeah, just really smart from Totoro walking around. Sort of play that Key was more known for, these roaming plays, but MVP didn't have vision in that river. They knew this for sure because they've had Syndra walk down multiple times and not walk through wards. So they just made another play. Maha punished for overstaying. Maha was definitely the weak link in many of the losses for MVP last year. Credit to him. He's played a lot of solo queue. We were looking at his profile. He's played 360 games this season already on one account. Who's to say how many he's played on other accounts or scrims? We haven't necessarily seen the positioning problems for him in team fights that really let him down. But this was just a laning disrespect that you cannot make at the highest level of play.
Yeah. I mean, not even going for the Omen's Ghostblade, so you can't even rely on additional movement speed from that. So Maha, just a bit of a brain fart in the bottom lane, it would appear.
How eloquent of you there, Achilles.
You know, I go for only the finest of the English language.
Pardon your
French.
Offer.
Yep. I mean, we had a player named Fart.
We did. He's actually on the bench.
Yeah.
His name's now Part. He went from Fart to Dart to Part to Fire Trap back to Part.
Oh, these Koreans changing their names constantly. See Maha opening up the curtain call, just trying to stop this first pick from going over to BBQ, but to no avail. They will pick it up, and that is going to be a massive lead now amassed here for BBQ. As you can see, they are almost 4,000 ahead at this point. So where do you go if you're MVP at this point?
I mean, MVP, I think, in the late game have more options. You're expecting Jace to get a farm lead over Sion. That's to be expected. No kill pressure, but gonna get inevitably a farm lead. In the mid lane, you know, especially after Orianna got greedy, or when MVP got greedy for that first Drake, that gold lead was only going to grow. So once again, a CS lead. Bot's been pretty even, but Ghost is unfortunately, if you're an MVP fan, picked up that extra gold through kills. So this is very much snowball time. They're going to have to really make this engage work.
Oh, well, they get that dredge line in onto 10th. Tries to make it out in time to avoid the shockwave, but he still goes down to Ian. Here comes Ian, charging his way in from the top lane. Hits Ghost. Look at the damage. That's going to be a double kill picked up for Ian. The dragon halted. MVP can likely swoop that one up. And my God, ADD completely wrecking Ghost's day.
Oh, I love seeing Mecha Sion roll in. Transformers in full order. We saw that from Smeb back at All-Star. Nice stuff coming through from ADD as well. I believe there was a damage assist from Ian. We'll have to confirm that in the replay from the Orianna. Don't think that Sion can 100-0, but we're going to see that replay. They got exactly the target they wanted. Max went for the low percentage play. He went for the hook first, but it hit. Now watch ADD. Now the ult, of course, will do plenty of damage. That part was already there, but there was also Orianna QW.
Yeah,
that,
gets him with the distance
right
at the end.
But this is the part about tanks that's fine. When it's early in the game, before anything is completed, it's fine for tanks to do damage. Just when Poppy's half health and carries in the late game is when it's a bit weird.
All right, well, ADD showing up on the Sion so far, 1-0-1. Has been losing this turret fairly steadily, but otherwise playing really well.
You say, and I agree, but worth noting, he hasn't lost the turret at 18 minutes. Given how this lane is gone, that's actually really good. And Sion has so many different ways to wave clear, with the Q-Max especially, the Decimating Smash, Devastating Smash, I forget, they're also similar.
It's devastating.
But he's kept the turret up, and that's kind of his game, because if Jace has to stay in lane, he's not joining Syndra to poke and take other objectives. He's forced to just remain and deal with this annoying Sion.
Yeah. It has cost him a bit as far as the CS numbers go. And you see Crazy about 30 up over top of him. Nicole, pretty good investment for him. Beyond, though, finds Bless in the middle of the river. Temp throws out the stun, won't connect. Janet Crystalline arrow will, however. But here comes Sion. Can he bend it? Yes, he does! Makes his way around the corner and takes out Bless. But can he get out of here with his own life? Flashes over the wall, has that command protect on him to keep him alive. The stun from Temp will not connect. They're able to hook up onto Beyond. He goes down. Temp takes him out with a sphere. He has to flash away, so BBQ able to trade one back. Both the junglers going down. But man, ADD, he is bending around these corners. Hook comes through onto Temp. There's the hit from Maha, takes him out. won't be able to take out Crazy. He'll just clear the wave. This is going to be a good opportunity for MVP to get some serious damage into this mid-tier 1.
Yeah, MVP was able to get that first pick with Jin in base and then was able to get the hook. Max is impressing on the Nautilus, you'd have to say. Flexed the Nautilus, denied the other tanks through the second part of the banning process, then comes in and does really good stuff when it comes to getting the kills. We see the replay. Jace, of course, cannot interrupt. There's nothing he could do. He could have flashed in front, but the Q would have been too long in terms of animation.
Man, he's just drifting around that corner.
Man, there's some other games that maybe ADD should consider playing, because as you're saying, his drifting mechanics are well on point.
Yeah.
I realized I was going to mention a drifting game, but it was going to be a Dreamcast reference, and what percentage of our audience play Dreamcast? Probably not high, but Metropolis Street Racer, I guess Project Gotham Racing.
Yeah.
Bless their heart.
I never owned a Dreamcast, but I did always play it whenever I went to
good times.
you know, all of the department stores that had an electronics section.
But Max, you know, was smart. He understood the Jin's positioning and the ranges, came back in as he's got some armor pen at this point.
Yeah,
a lot of
that black
pen.
cleaver is dashing in, flashes over to the side of the decimating smash. ADD, he doesn't have a turret. He's
W again.
Definitely rough. Gets the shield. Wants to go back.
He might
in.
do it.
Can he win this one? No.
Oh.
The last hit, but he's got the passive. Smacked away by the E, and ADD won't be able to come up with a kill. It was damn close though, but can Crazy make it out alive? Max dashing forward with the dredge line. Has the depth charge ready to go, but it doesn't matter. Beyond kills him with the W.
Man, if Courage came back up and he lived and turned that around, it would be the most epic Sion play in history. Doesn't have too many mechanics for epic plays, but between the drift and the almost turnaround, oh boy.
I don't think we've also gotten that many opportunities for epic Sion plays, because when Sion was in the meta, so was Malphite.
Bring me the Singed in Sion, that's all I'm going to say, Achilles.
That would be the battle of the century. Now, but really nicely played by MVP to collapse back down, get the kill onto Crazy, keep things fairly even. I mean, where BBQ had stretched a serious lead, it's now almost dissipated. Maha, though, gets caught by the arrow, and he just gets popped.
Yeah, disrespectful stuff. You know, Ian can afford to stand up a bit because he has cleanse, but this unfortunately has too often been the trend with Maha. Too early to say that it's just going to be another season for MVP where some of their members let them down, but this is the sort of stuff that Maha really needs to correct. He needs to play with more respect, especially when Ashe, Syndra, and Elise on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of our biggest criticisms of him in the summer split. And so far, he's not really showing that this time that he's invested into, you know, all these hundreds of games, that it hasn't really paid off yet. But again, this is not necessarily indicative of how he's going to perform through the rest of the season.
Yeah, there's
but it's not a great way to kick things
There's
off.
a lot of variables, right? You know, it's first game back in the lights for 6 months. Been a long time since August last year. Again, the pressure's there.
Yeah.
We'll track him over the course of the season. It's just one of the trends we really hoped that would change, because MVP were on the cusp. They were 5th for most of the season before falling away, and Afrika pipped them at the last once again. This is a team that does have players who show a lot of promise, and they stayed together. They didn't add a sub. My one thing for MVP was I'd like to see a challenger AD carry just to give competition for Maha, because Maha's been around the competitive scene for a while, was Mark on KT in previous seasons. So a bit of competition there I think would have done well, but their first goal clearly was to keep the players they had. They do have players like Bless, Ian, and ADD, Max as well, who look very good. It's just Maha needs to keep up with the development of his other team members.
Sure. I mean, they're one of, what, 2 teams that have actually kept their full roster?
Well, basically 3. Kongdu Monster also.
That's true.
From Challenger haven't changed.
Yeah, with Punch coming in from jungle. That is absolutely true. We see our 3rd Drake has spawned.
Nice teleport here.
When Drake TP coming through, actually going to be canceled.
Now
what? He says, why would I TP in when I can just charge down the lane? It's going to be coming straight down, just like we saw before.
Sion's
but
ulting.
Might be way too late. There we go. Yeah, can't make it all the way down the river. Bless is able to pick up the dragon, so that's 2 for BBQ. Attacking on that Wind Drake on top of the Infernal.
Sion's considering committing here. ADD, of course, as you noted, doesn't have ult, so he doesn't have anyone to back him up. Nautilus was also in a very defensive position, so smart not to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Just go ahead, peel back. Already had that mid-tier 1, so they couldn't even try to collapse over to take that objective. So BBQ will just inch very slightly further ahead. But so far, it's been fairly close between these 2 teams.
BBQ definitely have more options at this point in the game. MVP have to engage. So when BBQ line up for a siege, their siege with Jace, Ashe, Syndra is just so oppressive that MVP have to press a go button. If you mess it up, lose a team fight, suddenly inhibitors are gone. So it's very much hard engage versus poke on these two sides, even though BBQ have engage of their own. It's really tense right now. When the ultimates are up, BBQ have to change their playstyle. But if they can blow, let's say, one of the ultimates, let's say Sion's ult is down or Nautilus depth charge is down, they can be just that much more aggressive. Speaking of aggression.
Sion, he's actually going to make it out. Max lands the dredge line onto Bless, pops him up and takes a hell of a lot of damage, but Max does as well. Temp able to finish him off, and now ADD is going to have to limp his way out of here. And they just lose Max in an instant.
Support Nautilus. Not quite at 2-3 items yet, but what would the punishment be? They have control over the Baron, but Baron clear is not what they're investing in.
Well, they're looking for Crazy. Sion, he's able to jump over that wall, had the ward for the vision, but Crazy, he's got a hell of a lot of damage. Big heal comes off with the W, and with ADD here, you have to think that the Jace is dead. There we go, ADD finishes him off. Meanwhile, in mid, might have to get a replay of this. Ian able to take out Bless with the help of Maha.
Guessing it was a deadly flourish because Maha didn't invest the ultimate, but caught in transition, 2 down, including the smite.
They didn't even have to use the shockwave.
Here comes more.
ADD, he's going to charge up the lane. Doesn't quite make it in underneath the tower, and can't bend around that corner for sure.
Can't help getting excited every time he channels it.
Oh,
You're
I
like,
mean,
where's this going? Could be
every time
anything.
I hear it, I'm ready to go. But I mean, that's 2 members of BBQ down, and MVP, they're going to pull the trigger on the Baron, have wards over the wall. Can BBQ stop this from happening? Already down to half HP.
I mean, Sion has Guardian Energy. He can tank 4 days. He's not worried about the poke. That's why he was on the right side.
There we go.
No way for them to do anything. Stick some wards over. Nothing more they can commit to. And Baron to MVP against the run of play.
Oh, we'll get a replay. Oh, Bless, he just walks over the trap.
Wow, it was actually nothing to do with Maha. It wasn't even in the same quadrant. The Jhin trap, you know, a lot of Jhin players don't even skill trap to level 8, but that so was enough for Ian to close the distance.
Wow. Well, nicely done by Ian. I mean, that was the crucial pickup. That's the one that really enabled that Baron to come through for MVP. And now they're right back into the driver's seat. It's still, you know, just 100 gold separating up in kills and still down a tower. So if they can equalize that objective count, they'll be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, when you get Baron as the engaged team, that's when it really starts to turn. Because the poke team has more options. Because like we already said, an ult's down, suddenly the poke team can do what they do, but do it better. When the engaged team actually has a wave pushing advantage because they have Baron buff minions, but can also turret dive because Sion does not fret about turrets whatsoever, they can walk up in situations they could never do otherwise, and that means that suddenly that equalizing gold will come through, and now ahead in gold, and at the drop of a coin, MVP can look to close the game.
Yeah, I mean, and this could be a really rough spot with these Baron-empowered minions because BBQ, they have to heavily rely on Ghost to clear these out with the Hurricane. And if he walks up, that could just be a depth charge from Max straight onto the face, couple that with a deadly flourish, and your Ashe is goodbye. It just has to say goodbye at that point.
Kiss your Ashe goodbye.
Very good.
Got to get past those senses one way or another.
Sad I didn't think about it, but good job, Papa Smith. You've earned yourself some BBQ chicken.
Yes.
Reception comes down.
Ooh.
Wow, big pop from that last hit onto Totoro. Not quite enough to kill him, but enough to send him back to the fountain. Tier 2 and top goes down in favor of MVP. Now they're finally starting to stretch that gold lead. 1.5 in their favor. Still, nothing insurmountable for BBQ. What does MVP want to do now? They still have this Baron buff for a bit longer. They stick around in mid and try to get the tier 2. They just cut their losses and go back to the base and spend this newly earned gold.
A big thing for that to track is when Beyond hits 16, because suddenly the stealth duration from Rengar gets oppressive. You pop it, and then there's such a long mind game that that's when someone steps out of position and then Sion or someone else can profit. So level 16 is when that duration gets insane. But now, though, still Baron buff, still Sion and Nautilus, who's finally getting tanky himself in the front lines, and that lets them take another turret. And getting ahead in gold of a poke team at 30 minutes, that's always the gold standard for an engaged comp like MVPs.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a Baron power play graphic, but I believe that was about plus 3,000 for MVP at the end of things. So
Where did you pull that number from? Let's be real here.
I think that they were down by about a K before they took the Baron.
Okay, memory. Okay, I was like, did you do some play-by-play math over there?
I'm guesstimating here, but I think that it was about 1,000 gold separating them, maybe a little bit less. I don't know. I'm sure that somebody on the Reddit thread will say something about it. But MVP, they bounced back quite well. 5 turrets to 3, still down that Infernal Drake, but let's see what they can pick up next. It's another Cloud Drake that has spawned.
The awkward phase where Orianna doesn't do damage, that last replay didn't tell you, is well and truly over.
Yeah.
Was able to sit on the Negatron, didn't feel pressured enough to just finish Abyssal Scepter, and now Luden's working on, you have to think Deathcap as the next pickup, in a really comfortable spot as Sion. And when you have the ball carriers that we've gone over time and time again, that Orianna damage is going to hit on 3 members, or it's going to take 3 flashes.
Yep. Well, now Baron buff gone, MVP. Going to start to push up towards this final tier 2 tower in the bottom lane. See if BBQ can hold on for dear life. ADD going back up to match this split push of Crazy. Doesn't really even care about him. So he's just wandering around. He'll hop away and just roam down towards the tower to catch the wave. But MVP, they're going to go ahead and peel back. Don't want to overextend in that bottom side of the map and lose too many members and give the advantage back over to BBQ.
With the Elise going a very offensive build, not really anyone that can stand up on the side of BBQ. Yeah. Sure, Syndra can do some wave clearing from afar. Sure, Ashe can send out volleys every 4 seconds, Jace as well, but no one else can walk up because everyone is a squish, not even pseudo tanks on the side of BBQ. That just gives more and more time for MVP to basically put forward all the timers, get the wards in the right position, and go for that turret dive that we're just waiting to see.
Well, they get a hell of a lot of damage onto the tier 2, knocked it down to about half HP. So definitely something that can be revisited. ADD just wandering his way down, making sure that this wave in mid is constantly crashing so that BBQ has something to distract them from this push at the bottom side of the map. Might just go full 5-man. Looks like that's going to be the case. ADD still hovering around mid, keeping tabs on Crazy, making sure that he can't come in for any flanking TP plays. Not that BBQ really has any wards to go to.
The issue is, though, that actually taking those turrets is proving quite difficult. Jhin isn't the ideal turret taker, and Orianna can't walk up either, so for now they're not actually pushing their lead any further. You can say that the majority of the team is in Vision. Baron's coming up in a minute, not going to be much Vision around there. Beyond's investing his ult again.
Yeah, I think he's mostly just using this to zone BBQ back. They had Vision of him, so they knew exactly where he was coming from. And, I mean, they pull back, they lose the tower, so if that was the play from Beyond, it worked out really well.
Now, if meanwhile at Jace he actually takes an inner turret, that's a good trade for BBQ. Jace should never be allowed free time. No one on the side of MVP pulled off. Sion didn't want to use teleport. You give Jace 5 seconds with the turret, don't need Ziggs on the Rift. Jace does a pretty good Ziggs impression.
Oh, ADD shedding his way over, won't be able to cut off Crazy. Wrapped up around the blue buff. And might be looking to take this as his own. Certainly would have the damage. ADD, he's going to flash forward. That sentence was there from Totoro, so but a questionable play.
ADD didn't have vision of Totoro, so didn't expect the Dark Passage to just deny all the fun. They're investing a lot on ADD. He's all alone. He's still Sion will die eventually.
The box is coming down. He's still alive, gets that massive shield coming through, and it's like he's going to be able to walk away with his life. Beyond as well, getting a little bit of damage done in the back line of BBQ's team. Baron respawns. MVP gonna have to try to just get some vision down, recall, go back up, and then go to contest this objective.
Yeah, you can see the problem with the pick comp and why Sion is such a great pick here is acquiring a target is so hard for BBQ. We talked about Kled comp against SKT not really being able to initiate. This Ashe, Thresh, Syndra, Elise, they all do one thing. Lock down and delete a single member. That member isn't Sion. It can't be Rengar if he's got enough ferocity to be able to get the W off. Nautilus increasingly is becoming a difficult target to take down, and even if you do, it's a support, so if he puts out the depth charge on someone and dies, it's whatever. And Orianna and Jhin are so safe that the moment you see BBQ investing multiple ultimates into a Guardian Angel Sion, you can tell that they're kind of grasping at straws.
Yeah. He has got all of the armor, GA, got the Sunfire Cape ready to go, and the Frozen Heart. Just now working towards that Spirit Visage. And ADD is just going to be unkillable at this point.
Not worth the investment in time to kill him at minimum.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely get him.
And then he comes back, and then he comes back again.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming into the mid lane at the moment. Zips his way through.
Can you just imagine if you're just walking on the rift as Ashe, this archer, and then you hear this loud tone, and then you hear another man shouting as he comes rushing in?
Oh, it sounds completely and utterly terrifying.
The sounds of League of Legends album should not be the sounds from this game. They're just terrifying.
All right, MVP, they start up the Baron. They're going to go ahead and peel back. TP comes through from Crazy. Maha positioned really well, as far away as humanly possible from the enemies who can throw up that curtain call.
Remember, it's not the most threatening TP. It was a Jace TP, so it'll always be a shallow TP. It won't be the sort of TP you'd expect from the Maokais and Sions of the world. So TP down, so a summoner had to be invested to stop that Baron, so you still take it if you're MVP.
Oh yeah, it was nicely done. So they draw that one away. And now they could just move over and contest this dragon that's going to be spawning in about 30 seconds. Didn't get a look at what it will be. Could just be a third and final Cloud Drake, perhaps. Or, oh, this is the Elder.
It is the Elder.
Yeah, okay, this will be the Elder.
But for now, Baron is the true objective. The minion wave and bot is pushing out, so it's not working in the advantage of MVP.
It's going to be hiding in the fog of war. EDD pokes his head out. Baron started up yet again, down to half HP already. Do they want to commit to this? I think they probably are going to have to peel off this ADD. He goes in, jumps straight in onto Totoro, grab onto Crazy. They pop him up with a depth charge. Can they find the kill? Beyond goes flashes in straight into the face of Ghost, who flashes over the wall, and he is just kiting this out so well as the Ashe. Totoro does get popped up by ADD. He goes down. That's 3 kills picked up for against BBQ by MVP.
By
Ghost. There's nothing more he can do. Just wanted to get a little bit of CS before he died. And that is going to be crippling to BBQ. And now MVP shoving down mid lane looking for that inhibitor.
Oh man, the Sion mechanics in the replay will be fun to track. They actually cancelled out an initiation CC with the ultimate, of course, cannot be disabled during that ult. And although Bless tries to do his best impression of Huni and proxy the minion wave comes through. They take the inhibitor turret. They won't be able to close the game just yet. Probably be an overinvestment to do so, but they're going to walk back to Baron. They don't have eyes on Bless, so there should at least be one alarm bell ringing for MVP.
I'm not sure if it matters if they have a wave or not. ADD can tank for days underneath of those turrets at this point, but I mean, that was an engage that potentially looked a little bit decent for BBQ. It seemed like they were going to bring that one back, but in the end, MVP, they come out on top. And it's just this tanky, unkillable frontline that they have. They can soak so much damage, they provide so much CC. It makes things difficult, and oh man, look at that shockwave. Absolutely destroys Bless, gets rid of any opportunity for a smite steal, and that is the second Baron of the game going over to MVP.
Yeah, really clean stuff from MVP. They waited, they had the burst, Shockwave was back up. Clean stuff from MVP, and after BBQ had a good start to this game, the ult suddenly started to pay off. There was so many mind games between the thrill of the hunt, the unstoppable onslaught, all these initiation ults. The poke comp got a lead, but not a big enough one. And we're going to see this replay. Watch ADD, because he actually cancels the cocoon with the unstoppable onslaught, gets the engagement. Everyone from BBQ runs in different directions, and consider who has having the time of their life in this fight. Ian and Maha, no one's within 1,000 units of them, 10 Teemos, if you will. They get to pick the exact moment for the shockwave, rip through, they get an entire channel of the Jhin ultimate, no way to close the distance. These are frontline tanks doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that shockwave came out, it just turned the fight on its head. For MVP, looked really good for Ghost, who was just firing off over the wall, slowing down the members of MVP. But as soon as Ian saw the stars align, he pulled the trigger and just absolutely destroyed BBQ.
And beyond predictably, pops the ult. It's going to be stealth for a long while. Everyone doesn't know where he's at. So another mind game to speak of. Ian's taking a bit of poke damage, not massive on mana. Now, this mind game doesn't work as well because you want Rengar to be a ball carrier, and very clearly Orianna's not in leash range.
Yep, well, they just open up with a curtain call. trying to zone them back, maybe get some damage in on the temp. They land a couple shots. Plus, we take the final one. They get on top of Ghost, and he just disappears. ADD coming up with the kill. Beyond will go down as Crazy jumps forward, but the rest of his team is just getting destroyed. Totoro too far forward. I'll take that final shot from Maha, and it's just Crazy in the end. Bless, he'll come back up from the GA, but gets taken out immediately. And look at this, the Nexus turrets getting knocked down. 40 minutes just about on the clock, and MVP, they will take this first game in this best of 3 set, stomping out BBQ after they had a relatively strong start. But you get that Baron, you get those turrets, and MVP, they just start snowballing. And honestly, I gotta say, my MVP vote from MVP has to be ADD.